It's cool it down. Album review, let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album, their first album in like 9 years from the Yeahs. I'm gonna try not to cry during this intro. When I was a teenager, the Yeahs meant absolutely everything in the world to me growing up on Long Island, kind of near New York City, and hearing them put out early EPs like the Master EP and the Machine EP, as well as their Fever to Tell debut, for me at the time was like sticking my finger into the socket of everything that I wanted to hear in modern music. It was sweaty, it was artsy, it was sexy as hell, it was punky, it was artsy, it was freakish. It was super catchy as well, and they had so much versatility at the time. They were able to put out tracks like, Day with the Night, Pin. I can go on and on with these sweaty garage artsy punk jams, but then they could break out tracks like Our Time or Maps. I can't think of many bands at the time that influenced my style of music more. A few years later, they followed that up with Show Your Bones, and I'm going to be honest, this is an album that took me a really long time to truly appreciate. I didn't like the cleaner production at the time of the more alternative rock sound. It is a completely different album at the end of the day, but I did come around to it. It also has so many crowd pleasers on there, like Gold Lion, Cheated Hearts, Turn Into. But then with their next album, It's Blitz, the Yeahs took an even further step away from their sort of artsy, sweaty, punky beginnings with the very glamorous dance, sort of alternative dance stylings of the album. The beer-soaked nightclubs all of a sudden were kind of glitter-filled dance halls, and honestly, at the time I didn't know what to make of it, but over the years I've noticed it's just a natural progression for the band. It was so obvious. Not only do they do it justice, it's one of their finest achievements by far. And now the last time we heard from Karen, Nick, and Brian was with Mosquito, an album that I was so pumped for leading up to it. Just because Sacrilege is one of the best tracks the band has ever put out, period. But then I heard the thing and I didn't know what to make of it. It's a confusing and befuddled album that shows them experimenting, but to me, it sounded like they were trying to be weird for the sake of being weird, and just, at the end of the day, I just didn't think a lot of it sounded very good. I still don't. Now, this is the first time we've heard from them in 9 years, which is crazy to even think about. And leading up to this album, I thought they put out a pair of very solid singles, and for the most part, I'm much happier with this album than I was with their last album. This album starts off with Spitting Off the Edge of the World, featuring Mike Hadrius, aka Perfume Genius. I mean, I've said it since this track dropped. This track overall is just, it's a happening all around. It's a slow burner, but it is an epic and intense one. It's fiery. Karen's performances are ridiculous. The production is great. All the track is just building up to this grandiose, swagger-filled chorus that has so much drama. I mean, it's such a simple formula, but it works so well. And bringing in Mike Hadrius for this track is just a stroke of genius. He sounds great and right at home. Lovebomb, on the other hand, is even more of a slow burner. It's sleazy, it's a little glamorous, and I love Karen's very monolithic, very stoic spoken word performance on this track. It almost reminds me of what she was doing with Danger Mouse a few years ago, which I thought was a pretty cool sort of side project for her. It's a little jazzy in its own way, and it's certainly still very steamy. But man, at the end of the day, it's just a really fresh sound from the band that I don't hate. I'm for it. Wolf, on the other hand, I love the icy synth that we get here and the alternative dance vibes that work their way in. It's something that I've just, I'm very comfortable with Yeahs now. But it also goes pretty hard. It bangs at times. It reminds me a lot of what was going on in It's Blitz. And yeah, it's a little low-key at times, but man, is it ever sharply wrote. And the chorus, once again, is a real standout. Great use of strings, too. And Karen's vocals haven't aged a day. I mean, my God, she's one of my favorite front women for a reason, and she remains that. And for a really great deep cut, look no further than Fleez. I love this track. It's got a weird alternative rock groove to it. Reminds me a lot of what was going on Show Your Bones. Karen's performance, once again, it is super commanding, very sharp. I love the scuzzy riff, and once again, just how commanding the performances on this track are all around. It's glitzy, it's glamorous, it honestly takes me back, man. My biggest issue with this album is how short it is. I mean, it's been 9 years, but we only get 8 tracks and about 32 minutes of material here. They could have easily put on a couple of extra tracks. And because this album is so short, you know, the 1 or 2 tracks that don't really, you know, do well by me, honestly, they take away a lot from this album. Like Blacktop, this is a track where I draw the line, and in a big way. This is a slow-paced, sort of awkward tune that would have found its home on Mosquito and really turned me off to it even more. The instrumental is really just plodding along. It's hard to sit through. And Karen's vocals are fine. They're actually, you know, just as great as they are on most of the other tracks on this album. It's just not enough. And I'm sorry, Mars as a finale, yes, it's kind of cute, but this is not where I thought I'd be hearing the end of this album. I mean, I personally did not have a minute of a half of a bland instrumental and a really boring Karen O monologue on my bingo card for today. And this is the finale. This is the 2-minute finale. So basically, we're only getting 7 tracks and 30 minutes of material here. It's just kind of a letdown. But it is still very enjoyable overall. I really love Burning. I have since it dropped. I love the dramatic pianos on this track. And a lot of the pacing, not only on this track, but through most of the album, is pretty impressive. It really puts a lot more emphasis on Karen's performances, which is right where it should be. That sort of wiry, noisy guitar solo is right up my alley as well. And when that alternative dance beat drops, I'm right at home. I mean, if after all these years you're still not into this style of music from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, you may be very disappointed. But for a very solid late career album from one of New York's finest, I mean, this is a totally acceptable album with a lot of really great material. And Different Today is a totally, you know, commendably heartbroken late album treat. It's got an icy dance groove, it's got glamorous production, and you can argue that the songwriting on this track isn't as good as it is on other tracks. I see that, but I think that they do a good job of working with it and turning it into a hypnotic dance floor anthem. It sounds right. I mean, after Mosquito, I thought that all bets were off with this album because I'm not a fan of the album at all. But this is a very, very solid album from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Karen O's performances are stellar and commanding. The production is great. I love the drama on a lot of these tracks. The pacing is really well. And just honestly, it's them playing to their strength. And it's nothing too crazy outside of the box at this point in their career. And I'm not that upset about that. The only thing I'm really upset about it is I wish we got a little bit more material here, because this album's pretty short, and the 1 or 2 tracks that rubbed me the wrong way end up rubbing me the wrong way a whole lot more than it usually would. Still though, very commendable album from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I'm feeling a strong 7 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.